Welcome Chessbox Worldwide for a fantastic upset from the Mombasa Open International Grand Prix Circuit 2025. We are diving into an incredibly sharp game from round 5 where Uganda season's FIDE Master Wanyama, known for his aggressive and tactical East African style, goes head-to-head with the talented Majur Manyang from South Sudan. Playing the English opening, Wanyama tries to get an early initiative, but Manyang, a known tournament winner from South Sudan, counters with a bold, compromising approach. This game quickly explodes into a fascinating struggle featuring pawn storming, queen maneuvers, and a sacrifice that blows the center wide open. Stick around to watch a masterful demolition of the queenside that you won't want to miss. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment to support the channel. Welcome to the center of African chess. In the white pieces, FIDE Master Wanyama opened the game with knight f3, knight f6 from Majur, c4, we see g6, and after b4, bishop g7, bishop b2, short castling, we see g3, fianchetting the bishop, a5, hitting on the queen side, and after b5, d5, counter-attacking the center, c takes d5, queen takes d5, and in this position, Harold played knight c3, and after queen h5, bishop g2 should have been considered, but Harold wanted to venture into his opening. He played queen b3, pawn f4, hitting on the queen, and it was high time Harold goes on and takes the pawn on f4. For example, after knight takes f4, we could have seen bishop e6, hitting on the queen, queen c2, queen takes b5, knight c3, and this would be a playable position. But however, after f4, Harold decided to play queen a3, a5 from Majur, then to go ahead and play e4. Rook c1 should have been considered, followed by pawn e4, but he played queen c5, and now we see knight d7, hitting on the queen. Queen b4 should have been considered, but he played queen takes c7. For example, after queen b4, we could have seen rook e8, g4, giving up the pawn, knight takes g4, knight d5, and after pawn f3, bishop c3, knight b6, knight takes c7, forking the two rooks, and now we see rook f4, queen c5, knight d7. This would be a playable position for Harold, and we could still go on to struggle with the position. But however, after knight d7, he played queen takes c7, and this gave Majur a huge advantage. We see f3, hitting on the bishop. The computer recommends bishop taking the pawn on f3, but humanly, you can't go ahead and just sacrifice a piece like that. Bishop c1, we see e, hitting on the knight, knight d4, knight d5, that the knight is hitting on the queen at the same time, requesting for a knight exchange. In this position, still g4 should have been considered. For example, we are attacking the queen. In case of queen takes g4, then we can also go ahead and take the knight which is on d5, because now we're trying to deflect the queen from d5. But however, in case of g4, even the simple knight takes c7, we could play g takes 5, and we sacrifice a piece, that is bishop taking d5, knight d5, he played queen c4, and now we see knight b6, hitting on the knight, queen c5, bishop g4, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, and in this position, h3 should have been considered, but Harold went and played rook b1. For example, after h3, we could have seen like rook coming to c8, hitting on the queen, pawn takes a g4, queen g5, not going ahead to take the rook because you'll be giving up two pieces for a rook. That's why in this position, the computer recommends to go ahead and sacrifice the queen, but humanly, you can't go ahead and play such a game. So in this position, we could see after we see rook b1 and we see rook b8, we said the queen has to keep an eye on the knight. In case of any queen coming to d6, then the knight which is on d4 will be falling. That's why we see a knight coming to c6 being sacrificed. And after pawn takes, we see pawn b6, bishop comes to f8, and now hitting on the queen, we see queen comes back to c4, rook comes to b8, and now we see pawn b7, rook e8. In this position, bishop g2 should have been considered, but he played queen takes c6, and now we see knight b4, hitting on the queen, rook takes b4, and now bishop takes b4, h3, finally we see bishop comes to e6, and after queen f4, queen c5, and in this position, it was on the move 26 that Harold resigned the game. Harold has is to retreat back the queen on d1, and the bishop is going to be taking the pawn which is on a2 and being able to push the pawn to graduate into queen. And with this, Harold went on to resign, and Majur now is up full point, is leading the tournament currently as we speak with 5 out of 5. Thank you so much for watching and wish you the best of luck in your games.